Last week, Florida's Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles released a memo stating that transgender Floridians could in fact be punished by civil or criminal penalties if their identified gender does not match the one listed on their driver's license. Imagine thinking that this warrants any attention, any criminal penalties. It's insane. Now, this is what the Florida policy on the matter used to be prior to the memo. If a Floridian had a physician's certified letter stating that they were undergoing clinical treatment for gender transition, they could change their gender on their license. Well, that has been scrapped now. So the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, puts out this order, this memo, permitting an individual to alter his or her license to reflect an internal sense of gender role or identity, which is neither immutable nor objectively verifiable, undermines the purpose of an identification record and can frustrate the state's ability to enforce its laws. Does it? How so? How so? But let me continue. So the deputy executive director of the agency, his name is Robert Kynoch, also argued that the term gender is historically and commonly been understood as a synonym for sex. Gender and sex are two different things, right? Gender is in your mind, sex is your biology. And according to him, that made up reason is why Floridians shouldn't be able to list a gender on their license that does not match their biological sex. But the memo even gets worse. Misrepresenting one's gender understood as sex on a driver's license or driver license constitutes fraud and subjects an offender to criminal and civil penalties, including cancellation, suspension, or revocation of his or her driver's license. And the insane policy raises several questions which have thus far not been answered at all. The policy doesn't specify whether a trans Floridian who already changed their sex on their driver's license would be committing fraud by continuing to use said license. And the policy really doesn't benefit anyone. I just feel like it's ridiculous, gratuitous, and causes a lot of harm and a lot of heartache and a lot of instability in the lives of people who just wanna live their lives without this nonsense. And yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Cenk.
So look, I think this is one of the scarier stories in a while, and I want to tell you all the ramifications here because political prisoners can start soon. But before that, I just want to let you know, we want to cover the story more in depth. We've had issues lately in terms of digital media, et cetera, in hard times. So we know people in Florida who are trans, who are thinking of leaving the state, and we'd love to go cover it. If you guys want to chip in to make that possible, go to tyt.com/Florida, and then obviously we'll put that report up on our YouTube channel and everywhere else that we do the show, tyt.com/Florida, to help us do that video on them. Now, let me tell you why this is so scary. So first of all, you've got the Republicans in Florida saying, big government is awesome and it should tell you who you are. It should tell you what to feel. It should tell you what gender you are. And big government doesn't care what you think or your stupid freedom. These are right-wingers. They love to talk about freedom, but the minute anyone doesn't agree with them, they want to take their freedom away. So that's a giant problem, okay? But the second problem is much bigger. So if at some point a cop pulls over a person who's trans and they decide that they have the wrong gender on their driver's license, they can arrest them for fraud. Fraud is a felony. They can get up to 5 years in prison. Are they gonna start pulling trans people over and start arresting them and putting them in prison in Florida? What kind of country are we now? What lunacy is this? Every trans person arrested on this would be a political prisoner, and by the way, also a religious prisoner. This is the Taliban. It just flat out American Taliban. And then you see them say things like, oh yeah, Hamas throws gay people off of buildings. Oh, that's why we have to kill innocent Palestinians, right? And then they're like, oh, trans people, just arrest them for being trans. Who cares? Stuff them in prison. They don't agree with my religious views, so we should arrest them. So it's here. It's not coming later. And people used to say Ron DeSantis is a fascist. I say, guys, you don't overuse words. Donald Trump actually tried to end democracy. He's a fascist. So I hate DeSantis, but I don't know that he's done anything that qualifies as fascist. Well, you start taking political prisoners and putting people in jail for 5 years because you think you don't agree with what's in their minds and how they want to live their lives and who they are. You're basically putting them in prison for who they are. And yes, that is fascism. So look, Florida is in a lot of ways a beautiful state, and I lived there for a while and I loved it. That was a long time ago. But now they've ruined it. Now, how can any trans person live there? All right, go ahead, Ann.
All right, and just to give you a few more details about the story, this isn't even the first time that a Florida executive agency has taken action against trans Floridians. The Agency for Health Care Administration prohibited Medicaid from covering gender dysphoria treatments after an internal process that veered from agency norms. And before a law last year banned children from receiving medical treatment for gender dysphoria, the state's medical boards prohibited the practice. So that's what's happening in Florida. I guess this is a top priority for them, even when I'm sure there are other far more pressing issues that they could turn their attention to. Instead, harassing transgender drivers and what they have on their driver's license is what they're gonna focus their attention on.
This is the problem with the right wing, man. So because, look, if you did the old school right wing stuff, anti-crime, blah, 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 we might disagree, it's on around the edges or something, but it would be, and oh, hey, let's not spend too much, let's not tax too much. We might disagree on some of the specifics, but these days that might even be popular, okay? But when you go and say, okay, we hate certain groups and we're gonna take away their freedom and we're gonna stuff them into prison because we don't agree with them, it makes it impossible to support the right wing. It makes it impossible to be a Republican because basically now when you say, okay, I'm a Republican, it sounds like you want to be a fascist who despises freedom. Now with Trump, hates democracy. Well, what's left of this Republican Party? So, okay, if you know this news story and you think trans people should be put in jail for 5 years because you disagree with what they think they are, you don't believe in freedom at all. You love the tyranny of big government. Don't show me those "don't tread on me" flags and stuff. Don't pretend you care about democracy and America. You don't love this country. So it's impossible to be a Republican these days because they have this wing of their party who just loves to hate people that aren't like them.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.